7 years in a basin of blood. Princess Tu Ba Ba Sa, wife of King Ka Loida, was a woman with deep faith. She was pregnant for 7 years. One day she had bouts of stomach pain, then the pain became severe and lasted for 7 days. Even though she was in such pain, she still thought as follows: because he wanted to help people escape suffering like this, the Buddha preached the Dharma, and his disciples also wanted to escape suffering like this. This is why we practice. Nirvana has no suffering. Nirvana is an extremely peaceful place. She relied on the above thought and patiently endured it, then asked her husband to go to the Buddha's place to send him a message of greetings and to let him know her news. The Buddha heard her return message and said, "Princess Tu Ba Ba Sa, wife of King Ka Loida, may you be at peace, may you give birth to a healthy son." As soon as the Buddha finished speaking like that, sure enough, the princess safely gave birth to a healthy son. Her husband returned home, saw his newborn son, and said it was unbelievable. He felt that Tathagata's might was truly rare and inconceivable. After Princess Tu Ba Ba Sa gave birth, she wanted to make offerings to the Buddha and his disciples for 7 days, so she asked her husband to invite the world-honored one. At that time, the Buddha and his disciples were at the house of a disciple of the Venerable Maha Madhyayana, receiving offerings. Wanting to give Tu Ba Ba Sa an opportunity to make offerings, the world-honored one sent someone to the Venerable's house, told him to accept the invitation, and then went with the monks to Tu Ba Ba Sa's house to receive offerings for 7 days. On the 7th day, Tu Ba Ba Sa dressed up his son, Crown Prince Tat Ba Loi, and brought him out to worship the Buddha and the monks. After paying her respects, she brought her child to the Venerable Sariputta's place. The Venerable looked at the child, nodded and asked, "Tat Ba Loi, are you okay?" "Venerable Bach, how can I be healthy? I've been in a basin of blood for 7 years." Then he continued to discuss like that with Venerable Sariputta. Tu Ba Ba Sa listened to him talk and thought happily, "My child was born less than 7 days ago and can already talk with the Venerable Sariputta, the Buddha's greatest disciple." Buddha asked, "Tu Ba Ba Sa, do you still want a son like that?" The princess replied, "World-honored one, give me 7 more sons like this and I'll feel it's enough." Buddha shared his joy with her, said congratulations and left. When Prince Tat Ba Loi was 7 years old, he took refuge with the Buddha. When he was 20 years old, he received full ordination. Among those who did good deeds, he was the leader, and when he attained arhatship, the great earth made a sound. One day, the monks gathered together in the Dharma hall and discussed, "Dharma friends, Elder Tat Ba Loi is truly a person of the highest good deeds. He must have made a vow long ago, and now he will attain arhatship. But due to what karma did he have to stay in a basin of blood for 7 years, and endure 7 days of pain before being born, causing both mother and child to endure the ultimate agony?" Coincidentally, at that moment the Buddha walked in and asked, "Bhikkhus, what are you gathered here to discuss?" The Bhikkhus raised the problem and asked the Buddha for advice. The Buddha said, "Bhikkhus, Tat Ba Loi, the person who did the most good deeds, stayed in a basin of blood for 7 years and suffered 7 days of pain before being born because of his good karma. Tu Ba Ba Sa endured the suffering of pregnancy for 7 long years and endured the painful suffering of 7 days before giving birth, which was also due to her own karma in her previous life." The Buddha continued, "Once upon a time, there was a king in Ba Lanai. Bodhisattva chose this place to reincarnate, so the queen gave birth to a royal son. When the prince reached adulthood, he went to Daxa city to learn all kinds of professions. At that time, the Ka Tat country brought a large army to attack Ba Lanai citadel, kill the king, and force the queen to become his wife. The prince of Ba Lanai saw that his father was killed, so he fled through a secret tunnel, gathered soldiers and horses, returned to Ba Lanai city, stationed soldiers in a surrounding area and sent a letter to the king saying, "Repay, give me the throne, otherwise join me in battle." The king sent a reply, "Ready to fight." When the prince's mother heard this news, she also wrote a letter to her son saying, "Fighting is useless, so we besieged Balanai city, cutting off all traffic routes on all four sides, causing water, firewood and food to disappear. If you can't enter the city, wait until the people are exhausted and miserable, then you won't have to attack the city and it will fall." The prince listened to his mother and for 7 days cut off all traffic and blocked the city gates. The people in the city saw that all communication routes were cut off, and on the 7th day, they brought the king's head and offered it to the prince. The prince entered the city to take the throne. Later, according to his karma, he was reincarnated in the place where he was supposed to be born. Because in 7 days, he cut off all traffic and blockaded the capital to usurp the throne, so he had to suffer the retribution of 7 years in a basin of blood. And it took 7 days to be born, but he once knelt at the feet of Supreme White Lotus Tathagata and said that he wanted to become the first person to attain, and performed great alms to dedicate to that wish. Then, during the time of Bhikkhu T. Tathagata, he again offered alms. It seemed that all the people in the city were given 1,000 taels of bread and milk to dedicate to that wish. Thanks to such merits, he is now ranked first in everything he achieves. Again, Mrs. Tu Ba Ba Sa, because she wrote a letter advising her son to take over the city by blocking the gates, now has to endure 7 years of pregnancy and the pain of giving birth for 7 days. After the Buddha finished talking about the past, he continued, "At that time, the people who blockaded the capital to take the throne were Tat Ba Loi, his mother was Tu Ba Ba Sa, and his father, the king of Ba Lanai, that's me. One word, one action, if not careful, suffering will follow."
Thank you for spending your valuable time on my channel journey to enlightenment. Wishing you a very peaceful and happy day. Don't forget to click like and subscribe to my support channel. See you in the next video.